I want to highlight the core city of Des Moines and a couple neighborhoods that have come a long ways over the last 10 years, and I personally see coming a long ways in the future. And for those of you that are new to this channel, the reason we do these videos is not to show you houses, although we do some of that. It's really to give you an idea of what the neighborhood is all about, what you're going to expect if you did move to the neighborhood. So again, if you are moving to the area, reach out to our team. We'd be happy to kind of give you the ideas of what neighborhoods bring what type of people, where it might be best for you. But in general, we are trying to just educate you, the viewer, on what is going on in Des Moines and the neighborhoods that are in Des Moines. So if that is you, reach out to us below, shoot us an email, shoot us a text. We are here to help in any way possible. In this segment, I'm at the corner of 38th and Kingman, which is in kind of the very core of Des Moines. And the reason I picked this neighborhood is because I have a couple clients that are rehabbing a couple houses here. I work with investors along with homeowners, finding them places to live, and I help investors trying to find properties and flip them and make them and improve the neighborhood. And so in this neighborhood, there's two different houses that are getting rehabbed. And so I want to just highlight my experience and what I'm seeing in these neighborhoods as my investors finish up the houses and get them listed on the market. This neighborhood, 38th and Kingman, is kind of the southwest of the Drake campus, and it is so interesting. There are houses that have not been touched in 40 years, and there are big mansion, beautiful houses that have been completely rehabbed and are now $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 houses. Taking a kind of step back, the history of this neighborhood. And it was really developed in the early 1900s up to the 1940s. And so you won't find too many houses that are newer than the 1940s in this neighborhood. So a lot of established trees, a lot of character, and it's just full and ripe of people have transformed these houses to be their own houses and making them really cool to what they want in a house. And just a couple things about this part of the city is, yes, it has a lot of really nice and a lot of very worn down properties. But one way that I always tell of whether a city's caring about a community or not is what are they putting into the community? What tax incentives, what city investments are they doing? And one of the things that this part of the city is doing is they partnered and developed a nonprofit, and they do things like this, which is a city, investment where they give some type of grant or tax incentive to owners and investors, depending on what type of property it is, to make the property better. And any type of these programs, they all have their own stipulations. So it isn't just free money, and you have to stay there for a certain period of time. But what it does, again, it just tells me that people in these communities and the city is putting money into these communities. So again, that's what this neighborhood is about, is 38th and Kingman, just giving you an idea of what it's like. I'm walking the neighborhood in the middle of the day, and as you can see, the traffic's not super crazy, and there's people out, but it's not, it's not a race course, and it's also not just dead silence. So a couple other things the city of Des Moines is doing is they are helping investors turn multifamily properties into large single-family properties. Same general neighborhood, 38th and Kingman. Now we're at 31st and Cottage Grove, and we're just a few blocks away from the other location. But I want to just give you more representation of what the city of Des Moines is doing in neighborhoods like this that is just incredibly cool. So those of you that can't see, so this is a house that they actually brought from a few blocks away. They brought it, set it on this parcel. They actually tore down the old property, and this is kind of the example of what they're doing. So Cottage Grove is the road right behind me. They have a couple renovation, new construction, moved a house in. They have a couple existing houses, and then they have a renovation, which is the one I just shown. And the companies that are doing it are right here. Again, these neighborhoods have been in development, in improvement for the last 10 years, probably more. And I'm just continually impressed with what the city of Des Moines is doing. Yes, it's our tax dollars. No ifs, ands, or buts or arguments about that, but at least it's visible. It's cool to see what's happening. And the next neighborhood that we're going to go to is the 6th Ave corridor, and that's the best way to explain it. That's what everyone knows about it. It's even got its own darn website. And I'd say it's one of those places where if I had to choose where I'd move my family, if I wanted to live for the next 30 years and really establish roots in a community, this would be a really fun one to bring up and enjoy as the growth continues. Because right now, quite frankly, there's still a lot of rentals, and there's a lot of rehabs that are going on. A lot of properties are getting better and better. It's just really, really cool. So we're going to show why I love this community, and I see the city of Des Moines putting just a lot of money and growth into the area. So again, like the neighborhoods that I'm talking about, all have city input. They'll have city politics and discussion around what's going on, and this neighborhood is no different. As you can see, here we go. And kind of the way I explain it is, every, I don't know, fifth house has been rehabbed, has been renovated. Every 2 of 5 houses are rentals, are conversions, meaning they used to be a big single family house, and now they're cut up into multiple rentals. And like it's gonna take time before it completely turns. And that's the way any neighborhood any neighborhood develops. One of the common misconceptions that people that are buying in up and coming neighborhoods are it's gonna turn overnight, or it's gonna turn within the next 5 years. Quite frankly, it takes time for communities to turn over and develop that infrastructure. 6th Ave, the city's putting a lot of money into that corridor. The 6th Ave street, they've just put biking lanes on both sides. It connects 2 major new parks that are put together, or that the city's putting money into. Just a really cool area that over time, it's very historic, and I see nothing but growth in the area. It's kind of funny, as I walk down the street, this house right here was one of the very first houses that when I became a realtor, I showed to a set of investors to see if they wanted to rehab it. And here we are in the last but not least neighborhood that we're going to talk about today, and that's the Ingersoll, kind of north of Grand is what we call it, North Ingersoll area. And the reason I picked this neighborhood is it is a really good in between of both of the last neighborhoods that we talked about. It is more established, it does have more development. The city has put money into this area for a longer period of time. As you can see, a lot of these houses, probably 1 of every 10 still needs work, but most have had pretty significant work done over the last 10 to 15 years. And again, one of the things, and this is a repeating thing, is I look for neighborhoods that the city is putting money into to know where development and growth is going. And one of the things that keeps popping up in these neighborhoods that I wanted to highlight is the same Invest DSM program. Invest DSM, I mean, we're gonna do more content on it in the future, but I really wanted to just lay it out of how I kind of look at the trends, look at what's going on around Des Moines in these neighborhoods that are not new. They're by no means new, but they have had a lot of renovation, a lot of work that's been done to them. And I just think it's really cool to look at these older established neighborhoods and put your little flair on where or what property could be if you buy it a little bit run down, or if you're buying something that someone has already finished. Go in there, check it out, and you're going to obviously pay a higher price tag for that. But if done correctly and all the permits are pulled, it is a really beautiful property. One of the things about this Ingersoll North of Grand neighborhood is it doesn't have the massive houses that your Kingman and 38th Street do, and it has but it has much more development that properties have been fixed up than your 6th Ave corridor properties have. So that's one thing about this North of the Grand is you're not usually going to get the massive properties. Most are going to be under 2,500 square foot. Most are going to be a 2-story, up down 2-story. Some will be a 1.5. Very few ranches in this neighborhood, and a lot of them have that kind of windowed front porch or open front porch where people sit and, you know, whatever. A lot of heavy trees and growth, really established trees, and the city puts even more trees in. As you can see right here, I wanted to point out the city put a couple more new trees in, and I just feel like that's something we look for as people that are watching the markets, watching to see what the city is doing, to look at trends that in neighborhoods that are just, you know, improving leaps and bounds, maybe above some of the other neighborhoods in the city.